Hi, welcome to this week's Authors Love Readers podcast, where we delve into the stories behind the stories. We're asking authors questions, some of them fun, some of them serious, and from their answers, you're going to learn things you never knew about the people who write the stories you love. My name is Patricia McLinn. I'm your host and designated question asker.
I am Mary Burton, and I love readers.
Now, let's start the show. Hi, and welcome to this week's edition of Authors Love Readers podcast. I am delighted this week to have Mary Burton as my guest. Mary and I have known each other for quite a while.
Long time.
Yeah, it has to be because we knew each other from the Washington Romance Writers.
Correct.
And,
it's probably been 20 years.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Well, you for sure were a toddler. I wasn't
I was.
anymore. I was in grade school, right?
Exactly. I was part of kindergarten.
And Mary has made what I think of that. I may be miscategorizing this, so you're going to have to correct me if I'm wrong. But
Okay.
Let me back up and say we more recently ran into each other at the International Thriller Writers Conference in New York a couple years ago, and it was so wonderful to see a friendly face, and we had a lovely dinner. And it was a lot of fun to see Mary there. And where I'm afraid I may be mischaracterizing your books is I think of them as books that I'm divided between scare the pants off of people. And
Yeah, I call it Scary Mary.
There you are. And you would never think it to look at you or to deal with you in person. So tell us a little bit about your books.
Okay, well, just to give you a quick background, I started off writing Harlequin historical, and I think we even might have shared an editor at some point when we were both at Harlequin.
Yeah, I had 34 editors. It's almost for sure we shared an editor at some point.
And then I decided I wanted to write, jump from historical to suspense. So I wrote 4 romantic suspenses for them. And then I got the urge to write single title. So I jumped to Kensington and wrote 15 books for them, projects. And those were darker, more suspensey novels. And then now I'm with Amazon Publishing, Montlake. And in the interim, I've also created an alter ego, Mary Ellen Taylor. And she writes, I say she in quotation marks, writes women's fiction. And that fifth book, Mary Ellen Taylor book, will be out this year. So I've got about, I want to say 35 Mary Burtons and 5 Mary Ellen Taylors. So that's kind of my writing so far. So there's Scary Mary. That's what, like I said, that's the point I was trying to make. There's Scary Mary, who writes the suspense novels. And then there's Bakery Mary, who writes a sweeter, more history mystery type of story always with a historical kind of backdrop to it. But so yeah, those are the 2 Marys.
And I want to say Mary as a New York Times and USA Today bestselling author, but that's a really interesting jump from historicals to suspense/thrillers. What drew you in that direction?
I always enjoyed writing the Westerns because I always felt like they had a different cadence than let's say the Regencies, which were usually richer and just more, they just always felt more elaborate to me, whereas the Westerns just felt different to me, like pull yourself up by your bootstraps, kind of tough people. And I was always, toward the end of those books, I was starting to weave in these little mysteries, and they didn't really fit the genre, and I'd have to kind of delete them out before I sent the book in. So I could tell I was getting the urge to kind of write something that had a mystery in it to solve. So I kind of looked at the market and thought, well, I like writing romance. So let's see if I can twist some suspense into it. It took me about 18 months to figure out that first, jumping from historicals to small suspense to big suspense. Gosh, that took about 18 months, 2 years to figure it out because, as you know, there's a difference between, say, a 60, 70, 80,000 word book and 100,000 plus. It's just, they're different pacings, different cadence, and I had to kind of figure all that out.
Can you tell the readers? I think a lot of us know instinctively what that difference is as a reader and then as a writer too. But as a writer, can you verbalize some of that difference? You said the cadence and that I find that so interesting, Mary, because I react to stories a lot, and in writing stories, I react to how the rhythm is hitting me, where the rhythm is off.
That's exactly what I do. I listen to the beat, and if you audiobooks are really helpful for that.
Oh,
You kind of hear the beat of a certain genre. Are they long, descriptive paragraphs? Are they short, direct sentences? I mean, those are things you have to kind of decide, or kind of more. They're better suited for some genres, I think. So when I write the suspense, so as I was writing all the historicals, I kept trying to make my sentences longer and lusher, which kind of went against my grain. And then I get back into suspense, and everything needs to be shortened. I need to be very aware of the time because time is a big factor in suspense novels. I went from usually one or two points of view to multiple points of view, which again became kind of a balancing act. When I wrote that first one, I had a big grid up on my office wall, and I had stickies to show me whose point of view I was in, and different. It was ridiculous. I mean, a lot of this I do now, kind of instinctively, but as I was trying to teach myself, it was lots of stickies and notes and a big pile of papers behind my desk from my critique group. I said, I'm going to save these just to see how long it takes me to figure this out. And I think the stack was probably 3 or 4 feet high by the time I was done.
Oh my gosh.
It took a while.
Now, did your own reading draw you in that direction? Had you been reading more suspense and mystery when you started wanting to write that?
I have a tendency to want to watch it. When I was growing up, I would watch it a lot on television. I loved all the detective shows and all of it. So I have a tendency to more watch it, and I think that's because, again, I'm listening to the cadence. And I did read some mysteries growing up. Good old Nancy Drew kind of got me hooked. But I didn't read a bunch of them. I just decided I liked creating puzzles and solving them, and just kind of took it from there.
Now, you say specifically that you write suspense.
Right.
I have this. I have not yet gotten the rest of the world on board with this. But I distinguish mystery, suspense, and thriller as mystery is a whodunit. You have to figure out who did it.
Right.
Suspense, the question is, are your main characters going to survive?
Correct. That's exactly how I do it.
And thriller, I think, is the world going to survive?
Exactly. It's just a bigger, the stakes get bigger and bigger.
Yay! Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly how.
Okay, let's do some of the quick, quirky questions to get to know you a little bit, and feeding in right off what we're talking about. Let's say, do you have any strong fears? And will you share them all with the world? And then do you use them in books?
Fear would be tight spaces, heights. Those are big ones. And I've used, I remember in one book, somebody was kidding me. They said, do you ever write a book where you don't spill any blood? And it's like, well, no, but I bet I could. And I kind of tapped into my fear of tight spaces. And this was a killer that buried his victims alive. So that tight space kind of, when it makes me feel anxious, I'm pretty sure the reader's going to feel that way too.
How did you feel about writing that book, though? Was it not fun?
It's stressful. I mean, but again, if I'm feeling the stress and I'm feeling the emotions, I really do believe my readers are going to feel it as well. If I'm bored, I'm convinced they're going to be bored.
I think you've just hit on why I write mystery rather than really suspense, because I don't like that stress. I like the intellectual puzzle and figuring it out and following the clues. So, well, okay, a little So we have a little revelation about me too here. What are some surprising jobs you've held?
Let's see. I sold shoes when I first got out of college, and I rented
You sold.
shoes.
Oh,
Sold
okay. I
shoes
thought you
before
said cheese at first, and I was going to say,
shoes.
I
No,
didn't know you were
shoes.
from Wisconsin. No, okay.
No, for
Shoes.
like 2 weeks. I did
What's
that for
the
two
worst
weeks.
part about selling shoes?
I think it was the just going back into the storeroom and keeping up with all the sizes and where everything is, and remembering to put things back because so I could find them later. Because I'd get so wrapped up in dealing with the customer, I'd forget to put the shoes back.
Not smelly feet, huh? That was
No. Everybody I in my brief 2 week career was lovely.
good. That's good to hear. So, any other surprising jobs?
I was a kitchen assistant at a local culinary school because I
Ah,
love to cook, and so I thought, and they were looking for people to scrub pots and pans and assist the chefs, and it was just my evening away from the kids and the husband, just something to do, and that was more for fun. But yeah, I'd be in the back scrubbing pots, or I'd be up at the front helping a student cut something or saute something. That was a lot of fun.
okay, Mary. I think we have a firm grasp that you have a twisted mind if you think that scrubbing pots is fun.
Well, you get to interact with people that love the same stuff you do. You get to hear the chef talk about
That's true.
all their war stories that they may not share with the class, and
Oh, that's cool.
um, yeah, I just thought it was fascinating.
Have you worked any of that into your books?
I have. That's where Mary Ellen Taylor came from.
Oh,
A lot of what I learned as a kitchen assistant went into those initial books. Like the Union Street Bakery is the first one, and a lot of that comes out of me working those pastry classes.
that's great. So those books would be, you said, were more women's fiction, but
Correct.
but you also said that they have a historical
They
bent.
have I call it a history mystery. They have who wrote this journal? Why are these particular artifacts important? How, the first four were set in Old Town Alexandria, Virginia.
Oh, I love Old Town. Yeah.
And there's just so much history up there.
Hmm.
And so I spent a lot of time up there researching the history. In fact, I was coming back from a mystery conference and had extra time, so I stopped at the archaeology center there and just started wandering around. And by the time I got to Richmond 2 hours later, I had kind of some ideas for a novel in my spare time. Worked on that.
A reader likes to ask and wants to know where our stories come from. And she has said that she knows somebody who has dreamt stories and somebody else where the characters just pop into her head and start talking. Now, you told us about how that one started. How about other stories? Do you have a general way that they start?
A lot of times they will rise up out of a current book. You'll come across a bit of research, or you'll learn a fact that you can't quite use in this book, but it just starts to germinate into a new book.
Mm.
Sometimes there's a character in an existing book that might trigger the next story. They come from a lot of different ways, and it's hard to say how you know it's the right one, but you can kind of feel when it's going to be right. And
Hmm.
it's just like I always joke. I take a cycling class in the mornings, and I do some of my best plotting there because you're just focused, and that's when the ideas just start to really germinate and develop.
I plot murder mysteries in my yoga class.
Yep. Yoga's great. I haven't taken yoga in a few years, but again, meditation is wonderful for plotting murder and mayhem.
I know, and it's a good thing I have such an understanding instructor because she is very nice and very kind, and she's talking to people about clearing their mind of the everyday, and if your mind starts to wander, bring it back. And I'm thinking, no,
No,
I
if
want
it's
it
going in a,
one
if it's going in a story direction, I'm letting it go.
And she says, I look over and I can see you in that corner, and I know you're plotting to kill somebody.
Maybe,
Maybe, yeah, I'm not
Oh,
telling.
yeah.
So that also then led into another reader question that we've had about if you miss characters when you've finished a book, do you find that you miss them? And then my follow-up is then, and I think you've given us a hint of the answer, does that then lead you to additional books?
When you finish a book, when you've done like 4 or 5 drafts, you really have gotten to know these characters. Because sometimes they're not fully formed for me when I start a book, and by the time I finish the 5th or 6th draft, I know them really well, and so it's just very comfortable working with them on that last draft. And then you start the next book, and I usually start within a few days, and it's like I'm dealing with a room full of strangers once again.
Yeah.
Like, talk to me. But I do miss just knowing them and figuring out all those quirks, because right now I'm in the first draft of a novel, and I don't know everybody that well yet, and it's driving me crazy.
That's a really interesting point, though, Mary. I wonder if those of us who are introverts tend to write series more so we can stay with people we know,
right,
versus the extroverts. Okay, I can see a government study on this coming up somewhere.
Probably.
Okay, I'm going to go back to fun and
okay.
What's a favorite taste?
Vanilla. I love vanilla.
Oh, I love the smell of it. Oh, yeah. And that goes into baking? You like baking better than cooking?
Yeah, I do. It's more requires more concentration because it's more precise and it's more chemistry. But yeah, I do love it, especially if I could get the counters clear, get the house quiet, and just enjoy it. But most days it's usually just plain old cooking.
I tend to think of baking too as tactile, a little more.
Yeah.
Than whether you're doing rock cookies or you're doing a pie crust, or of course making bread. That there's a lot of
it's experience, and it's knowing when it feels right. You're exactly right. It's how you've kneaded the bread just enough. You just kind of can tell, and that takes a lot of practice, which is something I haven't had time for. But yeah, when I used to bake quite a bit, I'd get to the point where I could just tell by the touch of it. When I was making rolls, that they were just right. Now I'm out of practice, and it's just a bunch of bricks. But
I find that hard to believe. Okay, as long as we're talking about tactile, you're right-handed?
Yes.
On your right hand, index finger or ring finger longer?
Ring finger.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
What does that mean?
I have no idea. I'm gonna look this up. I truly am.
Okay.
Actually, I did see something at one point that said, but now I can't remember which finger. If one finger's longer than the other, one of them means you had more testosterone while you were in the womb.
Oh, okay.
But I can't remember which one it was now. And interestingly, as I look at my own hands now, usually my ring finger looks much longer, but right now they look about the same. Huh. Okay. Very strange. And I have not been nibbling off the tip, I swear. But I'm going to check more on that. And in the meantime, we know that yours are different lengths. So,
yeah.
Well, and someday I'll find out what that means.
I know. Let me know.
When you were young, did you have something that really bothered you, that you fretted over, and now you look at it and think, oh, for heaven's sakes, what was I thinking?
Oh, of course. I mean, when you're in at least for me, when I was in my early 20s, it's just you almost feel like you have to give yourself permission to do things that it takes, or it just feels trying something new seems so scary. Now it's just like, yeah, just try it, just do it. What's going to happen? I mean, just try it. Write the story, send the book. I mean, just do it.
Was that a gradual process for you, or did you have something that triggered a change?
No, I think it's just the more you put yourself out there, and the more you show up at conferences, the more you send out books, get rejections, speak in front of groups. The more you do, the less you just worry about it. And I haven't it all hasn't always gone well, and you realize, well, I survived. I'll just do it again and see what happens next time.
When I started talking to groups, Well, I have to back up because in high school, when I went to high school, you had to take speech for a
Mm-hmm.
semester, but because I was in advanced English, which was a full year program, I didn't have speech. So I took speech in summer school. And it was a really interesting class because it was half kids who had flunked and half kids and having to repeat and half kids who were from the advanced class. I was very nervous. And this guy who was very kind, who was taking the class for the third time, said, before you start, take a deep breath. And it was entirely well intentioned, but the result was that I hiccuped through the entire Battle of Gettysburg. So when it came time and I'm thinking I'm going to talk in front of these groups about writing, it was like, oh no, oh no.
No.
And part of the mind games that I played with myself was saying, okay, the base level is for me to get through it and not have people throw rotten vegetables at me. Anything above that is gravy. So
I try to treat it like a conversation. I rarely sit behind a table. I stand up, I walk around. I'm having a conversation, and if there happen to be 70 people in the room, that's okay. I mean, we're all learning. We're all trying to figure things out, and so yeah. I just and I guess, like I said, the more you do this,
yes,
the more longer you're in the business, the more you have to offer experience-wise to talk about, and so that certainly makes it a little bit easier.
I also think it gets to a point, though, at least for me, a lot of times I forget how much I know that people starting out don't know because you've known it so long, you sort of take it for
Exactly.
granted.
Exactly. Or right now, I was speaking at a group that was moderating a panel this past weekend, and we were talking about how everything's changed so much in the last 5 or 6 years. And you know, there was a guy in the audience who thought self-publishing was taking your book to a printer place and they bound the copies for you, and he had 15 copies. And I said, well, there's different ways to do that now, and it's all changed, and a lot of people don't realize what's available to them right now.
Yeah, it's a great time to be a writer. It's really terrific. And okay, we keep coming back to the writing. Isn't that interesting?
I know. It's all I do. It's all I know.
So from your pre-author days, did you ever have a story that you didn't like the ending of, so you at least in your head rewrote it?
I'm trying to think. There were probably movies I saw where I didn't agree with the ending, and I couldn't think of one right now. But I'd start to guess what was going to happen in the plot. I was kind of one of those people, like, okay, this is going to happen now, this is going to happen, and when it didn't happen, I would be like, well, why not? It just makes more sense that it should go in this direction.
Yeah.
Of course, I've ruined the movie experience for everybody around me, but yeah, I would always start to guess plots and start to figure out where the twists and turns were, and now these days I can kind of figure it out pretty well.
Yeah.
I don't get surprised as much as I used to.
Has that taken some of the fun out of it?
It does. I mean, don't you love it when a book or a movie or something surprises you and it's like, wow, well done, author, well done. It doesn't happen as much as it used to, and I think it's just because I just do, this is all I do, and I'm always looking for twists and turns.
Can you think of the last, we'll make it movie. Can you think of the last movie that surprised you?
Let's see. What was the one where the little boy saw dead people?
Sixth Sense?
Yeah. Because my husband took me to that one and he said, you're not going to guess this one. I saw this movie yesterday, but I want you to see it now. You are not going to guess it. And we were sitting there for about 3 minutes. I said, he's dead.
I got it too. You know why? Because the camera pulls away from him.
Mm-hmm. And it's just, nobody was talking to him. He was talking to them. They weren't talking to him.
But it was the camera pulling away from him that made me suspicious. And then I noticed there was no interactive conversations.
Right. Yeah. So you start to look for things like the reader puts it all out there, or the writer puts it all out there for you. You just have to pick it up. So I'm sorry to say, not much has surprised me. That doesn't mean I haven't really enjoyed what I've
Oh,
watched or
yeah. Yeah.
enjoyed the process. I mean, there's some great shows out there. Like, I think one of your questions, I hate to jump ahead, is do I like one show at a time or do I binge watch? And I'm a big binge watcher because I like to see the arc of characters over a period of time, and I like it all kind of at once. When I have to wait week to week, it's like the old days.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, this is old fashioned.
But do you, in books, do you do the same thing? Do you binge read one author? Because I find, for me as a reader, that can be dangerous.
I don't read very much fiction.
Oh.
I read a lot of research books, true crime books. I listen to podcasts on crime. I listen because I'm listening for different ways to tell the next mystery or the next suspense. So I don't read a lot of. I like to read the first couple paragraphs of a book to see if I've been hooked. Um, I'm always I'm kind of jaded about those opening lines, and when I see a good one, I always kind of tip my hat to the writer because that's tough. I can't write the opening line of a book until I've written at least 2 drafts of it because I just don't know what to say until I've really figured out the book.
And as a reader, I dislike the throw them into danger openings, which seems really hot right now. I want to know who the people are before I go on the journey with them.
That's interesting. That's good to know. I mean,
well, I may be a very small minority of readers out there.
I don't know. I think we're in it for the characters. I mean, we have to bond with the characters. I mean, if you care about something, then the danger is going to mean that much more when it does show up.
Exactly. And I also think there may be a difference, as I said that, and this comes back to the sixth sense too. I think that there are 2 kinds of stories and 2 kinds of consumers of stories: journey stories and destination stories. And I am definitely a journey consumer. So I will watch the same movie over and over and over if I love it. I will reread books if I love it because I'm reading it for the journey, not the destination. Where like Sixth Sense, I watched it once, I was done. You knew what the destination was.
Yeah, it was good. It's like, okay, I got it.
Yeah, exactly. I wonder if there's a correlation then between journey readers and and liking the introduction to the character before you get thrown into the action.
That's interesting. When I write the Mary Burton books, I often start off with danger because I'm setting the stakes right from the very beginning. It's sort of like, pay attention, this guy's dangerous.
Well, and I'm not a suspense reader, so that's
right.
Makes a lot of sense.
But when I read the Mary Ellen Taylors, it always starts off with the character. It's always, this person here, and I try to boil down the nugget of what's going to be what's kind of their flaw as fast as I can because I want readers to care about these people. Doesn't mean I don't do that in the suspense novels. I just do it in a little different order.
Yeah.
There's no danger in the Mary Ellen book. It's more the mystery of, what's in the box, what's found in the attic, that kind of thing. It's not, there's no serial killers.
Well, I have not ventured into those books, and I may have to because they sound like they're right up my alley.
Yeah, they're either or. I mean, the markets, my readers of one aren't necessarily attracted to the other. So, which is fine. It's fine.
We've talked a little bit about movies. Let's go into my very bizarre little desert island where that does allow you to play movies, but only ever 3. And you have to play the same 3 over and over as long as you're on this desert island, and you're going to be there a long time. So which 3 movies are you going to take?
Could I take a show I've streamed lately maybe, or I'm not going to stick with one. I mean, I'm trying to think what I've I just watched The Sun on Netflix, and
Oh,
very well. I enjoyed it. And that was kind of one you could watch a second time just to get the nuances of the characters and the way they flip back and forth in time. I enjoyed that a lot. So I might take something like that, or I also like. There's a mystery series on Netflix called Shetland. I've enjoyed that a lot.
oh yeah. Anne
Yeah.
Cleves. They're based on Anne
Yes.
Cleves' books. Yes.
Yes. I'm tempted to go to I'm tempted to go to Scotland now because I'm in the Shetland Islands because just seems like a neat place.
Yes.
That's my latest. And then the Mind Hunter, which was about the formation of the behavioral science unit at the FBI. That's on Netflix. I enjoyed that as well. I read the book years ago. That was very interesting. It kind of pulled me through.
Is that John Douglas?
Yes.
He wrote the book?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fascinating. That would be really interesting. I'll have to look that one
Yeah.
up. And I think you are incredibly sneaky for picking series.
I know. I'm sorry. I haven't been to the movie theater in a while. It's just I seem to stream everything these days.
I know. Not only will I admit that I have bad habit words in writing, but I've listened to some of these podcasts and they show up in this too. Sorry, people. Do you have any bad habit words or constructions or things that you have to go through your manuscripts and take out?
Yeah, yeah. In fact, I even have a last draft checklist that I have shared.
Ah,
And these are words that just mean absolutely nothing, but they show up. Like he started to cross the room, he managed to stand up. And I went through one manuscript with this list, pulled out 4,000 words, and nobody missed them. They're just these little filler words that just, which are fine on the first draft.
yeah.
But then by the last draft, I have to run this checklist to make sure they haven't snuck in, which they do.
Oh, they absolutely do. Those phrases like he managed to, he
Mm-hmm.
decided to,
Mm-hmm.
she considered. They are usually, I do this in an editing workshop that I do. They are usually hiding the real verb. They're
Right, they are.
all this fluff around this strong verb that you've just managed to weasel away from. So yes, those are great ones to look for.
When they're all shrug, my characters will shrug, and what I'm doing is it's a shortcut to the whatever the real emotion is,
Yes.
and that can be painful trying to figure out what I'm really trying to say.
Well, I also think there are so many facial expressions uh,
Mm-hmm.
and body language that we pick up in person or visually if we're watching a movie that if you describe them in detail in a book, everybody would be tearing their hair out.
And yeah, it slows it down too much.
Yeah. So we're trying to get to that. So yeah,
Sweet spot.
shrug shows up
It's
a lot from you too. But sometimes too, I think it's when you go back and check the dialogue carries it.
and it depends on where in the book. You don't want to go into a lot of detail because the pace is starting to pick up, especially in the suspense. Toward the end, the pace needs to pick up.
Good point. Now I'm going to have to look for shrug.
I know. Tell you, it's one more thing.
Okay, here's a question. Have you ever had good advice that you've ignored, and how did it turn out? And that can be writing or not writing.
Good advice for writing. I think the first time my critique group, I remember them telling me I needed to rewrite the book. The magic's in the rewrites, and I thought that meant just reading for typos after you finish the first draft, and that manuscript did not sell. And then I kind of learned that rewriting is more than just reading through for typos. It's you have the gift of being able to step back and see the book as a whole, and then you can really move things around and tighten up and dig deeper into character. So that was a lesson. That was a hard-won lesson that I kept hearing, but I didn't quite understand it. And then when it clicked, that's when I started to. that's when I sold the first manuscript.
I'll tell you something. When I first started, something that scared the bejeebers out of me was people saying how many drafts they did. And I thought a draft meant not looking at what you'd previously written and just starting all over. And I'm thinking, oh, no. No, I can't do this. And so I kind of came at it from the other extreme. And when I found out they meant it was more a major edit, I was like, oh, okay.
Gotcha. It's amazing what we don't understand or what we didn't understand in the beginning that now is automatic. But
yeah,
you don't know what you don't know.
Well, and the very first Washington Romance Writers Conference meeting I went to, first person I met was Nancy Richards Akers. I don't know if you recall her.
Yeah, I remember her.
And she came and was so sweet to me and started asking questions and said, well, what are you writing? And I looked at her and said, a book?
Exactly.
I had no idea about the genres or, oh my goodness, all the things you don't know.
I know exactly. I couldn't articulate what I was writing, how long it was going to be, how I was going to do it. I mean, I think we're brave. We just jumped in anyway.
Yep. I'm brave and maybe a little stupid.
I think you got to have a good combination of both.
Or you wouldn't jump in.
Exactly.
So we talked before about how you came up with ideas, but there is such most writers feel this very strongly. There's such a big gap between having an idea and having a finished book, and going from that idea. And it's so interesting because a lot of non-writers will say, oh, I have an idea. All you have to do is write it. And you're thinking, I got 78 ideas. All I got to do is write them.
I know.
So from the idea, how do you then develop that into a book? What's your process?
I wish I could say it was clean and easy. I usually I try to come up with the characters first. I try to figure out, on a good day, I kind of know their flaws and what's driving them. And then from there, I design a story around it. But often, I don't know these characters as well as I think I do, even after I've written a 15-page synopsis. And I don't really start to learn about them until I write the rough draft, which is the hardest draft for me to write, because that's when I realized that the setting I thought I wanted doesn't quite work with these characters, or the timing is off, or there's just I start to rearrange things a lot. And this last book, I must have cut 20,000 words and rewrote them during the drafting process. It was just, I kept saying there was a hole in my word bucket. But I mean, it turned out to be, and usually the ones that make you suffer the most end up being some of your best books.
Isn't that just mean, though?
I know. The books that I have struggled with the most, I've gotten the best reviews.
Or maybe it's compensation. Maybe I shouldn't look at it as view. It's compensation for the pain. So
yeah, I think the world knows when you've worked hard for it, I guess.
And you write a 15-page synopsis?
I do, and sometimes by the end of the book, when I finish the book and turned it in, well, the character shapes are about the same, and and it's just changed. And I'm lucky enough that I have an editor that she's willing to let me just figure it out, because she knows by the time it gets to her, I've worked up as many kinks as I possibly can. And I try to turn in a really clean draft. But yeah, sometimes it's not always she'll just ask me, okay, can I have a real synopsis of the book now that you've finished it? Like, of course, now that I know what it's about, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I refer to it as the S word. I always hated those things.
They're hard to write, but I mean, they do give you kind of a framework, but I always realize that I run out of plot by about page 200. It's like, what have I missed? and I have to go back and figure it out.
And don't you find that you've dropped a lot in there? There are a lot of threads to follow that you weren't aware of?
Yes. If I write a scene out of order because I'm desperate to get my daily page count, something will come up, a little nugget, a little something, and that'll trigger the next idea. And the trick is just to keep typing and make yourself finish that daily page count, no matter how painful it is, because there will be something. I have faith every day that there will be something that I'll have to work with tomorrow.
It does writing takes a good amount of faith.
It does.
Now, what is the title of the book that you said, your most recent one?
The one that comes out in May is Her Last Word.
Okay.
And that is actually, part of the story is told in a podcast.
Oh,
so that's
cool.
We'll see how that flies with readers. And then the one I just finished, that'll be out in probably late October. In October, that one was the one where I kept putting words falling out of the bottom.
And do you have a title?
But that one turned out pretty. That one's called Cut and Run. That'll be out in October.
Cool.
And Mary Ellen's book will be out in September, and that's called The Winter Cottage.
Okay, so you referred to Mary Ellen in third person, and then you referred to Scary Mary. It's one of them more you than the other, or are you Mary in the middle?
I'm in the middle. I guess that's why I have them both, because they each kind of they each kind of do something for me, I guess. And by the time I'm done with one, I'm ready to work on the other one.
Do you celebrate ending a book or beginning a new one or anything else in the publishing process, having the book come out? Or
not too often. I will, when I turn in a manuscript, I do walk around the house and announce to everybody I've just hit send. Nobody cares. And yeah, you always do that. And then I usually might take the afternoon off or get a cup of coffee, but I don't do anything big because I'm usually starting the next book within a couple of days.
What did you do when your first book came out? Did you do something? Did you do the go to the bookstore and just hold it?
I did go to the bookstore and I was excited to see it. That was back in 2000. But I didn't know enough about what I should do as a first time author. I look back now and I've seen people have these big launch parties and all these celebrations. Like, I didn't even think about that. So maybe one of these days I'll have a big launch, like when I hit a milestone, like book 40 or something like that.
I'm thinking maybe 50, maybe
50.
75 for me. I think I'm in the mid 40s somewhere. And the first thing I'd have to do is go back and count, but which is not my favorite thing.
And that's one thing I will give hands off to some of these writers who are good about celebrating those moments, because there is a lot of alone time and a lot of trying to figure things out time, and you should celebrate when you can, because it's supposed to be fun.
When I sold, I think it was my third book, I think, and I got the advance on that. I did buy an antique coffee pot, and I got that in Old Town Alexandria. There was this really great and lovely woman in this great little store, and so I see that and I enjoy that. I just like the shape of it. I don't use it. And I guess you shouldn't use old pewter because of the iron, but I really like the shape of it. So that was a lot of books ago that I did my celebrating. Okay, in the process, as you're writing this book, what is your favorite part? You said you're not wild about the rough draft. So what's your favorite part?
I would say by the time I've hit the third draft, that's when I'm really getting into the word crafting. I know I have the story. Because, there's always that stress of, I really hope I have a whole story here. But it always comes. It's just, it makes you work for it. But by the third draft, you're really kind of digging in. You're spending time on crafting the words, digging into the characters a little bit more. And it's just, I enjoy that phase a lot.
I refer to that stress as, is this really a book?
Right, exactly. you know it'll be there, but every book makes you I think, makes me dig for it and figure it out. But again, I'm always trying to surprise myself. I don't want it to sound like all the other ones, so I want to do something different, and that's where it gets, it takes time for me to figure it out.
So it sounds like your books change quite a bit from conception to the point that they're going to be published. Do you think? Would you agree that they do mostly change?
They change a good bit, not totally, but yeah, a good bit.
Do you think that is some of that is a result of wanting to surprise yourself?
Yeah, because I think I always feel like the first in my synopsis. I mean, I spent a good bit of time. I spent a few weeks on it trying to figure them out. But there's nothing like putting those characters in conflict and seeing how they react, and they surprise you every time, and it takes the story in a different direction. Again, if it's just surprised me, I'm hoping it'll surprise the reader. So I'll follow that thread, even if it means a big rewrite or a big rethinking of how is this book going to work out.
Where in your process are you doing your research? Because I know you've got to do a lot of research, as your choice of movies showed too.
Yeah. One of my favorite things I did for years was the Writers Police Academy, which was it was in North Carolina for about 5 or 6 years, and I always drove down there for that. Now it's up in Wisconsin, and I can't get up there as much as I used to. But I got a lot of good research out of that, and I do I do have a lot of books on forensics and bone identification and mysteries and law, and I listen to a lot of podcasts now because they're just a great source of information about true crime and what's happened where. The basic procedures of police detective work is fairly the same. I mean, it may change with a jurisdiction, like a large one versus a small jurisdiction, but the basic interview techniques or the basic forensic fingerprints, that's fairly consistent.
I have another question from a reader that I just love. If you could write a book with any other author, alive or dead, who would you want to work with and why?
That was one I saw that on your questionnaire, and I was trying to think about that. I'm not sure I could. I don't know. I shouldn't say that. That one stopped me completely. I'm not sure who I would write with, but there's certainly some very talented people out there.
Well, I think I would have a hard time writing with somebody too, but I decided on this question that if we can make it people who were dead, we can also make them really easy to work with.
That's true.
And maybe make ourselves really easy to work with.
Right, exactly. Because they would listen to everything we said at that point.
Okay, of all your books, somebody who's new to you as a reader, where is a great place to start?
Well, if you're starting with Mary Burton, I would say my last one, The Last Move, that one, again, it was tough to write, but I was really pleased with how that one turned out. And if you're just discovering Mary Ellen Taylor, the first one is the Union Street Bakery, which would kind of get you through, if you got hooked, through the Alexandria series. And then my new series, which is set in the Chesapeake Bay area, starts in September.
Oh, wonderful. Now, what made you start another series?
Well, I mean, it's I changed publishers.
Oh, okay.
That'll do it.
And that's going to be Mary Ellen?
Yes. I am writing with Montlake for Mary Ellen and Mary Burton, so I am very lucky to be writing both names for them.
Yes, that's great. I mean, that's wonderful that Mary Ellen is getting to try another new wonderful area.
Yeah, she's glad to be working again. But I love those research trips. I mean, let's face it, if you're going to go to Alexandria or a vineyard cooking class, I mean, that's fun research.
How do you switch off from one to the other? And is writing one book versus one kind of the book versus the other kind, does that affect how you interact with people in the real world? The limited number we do interact with in the real world.
Yeah, I always joke I'm like a vampire. I'm out before sunrise at the gym, and I might get out after dark to get to the grocery store. But yeah, I think I don't know. I think I'm quieter when I'm writing the Mary Burton books because I am constantly really trying to search for those twists and turns. And whereas a lot of the Mary Ellen comes out of history and love history. I'm a big history buff, and so that those books write fairly easy for me. I can't explain it, but I love them both. But Mary Ellen's are a little bit easier for me to write. Go figure.
Do you have any books that you think that even your most loyal fans maybe haven't recognized as much, so that these books are left there as hidden gems?
My fans have been pretty good about keeping up with me, but I think, like I said, I think The Last Move was a pretty strong book, and I would say if people really wanted to discover me, that would be a good one. And I think Her Last Word, which comes out in May, that's another one that I think it's a strong book.
I'll give you my journalist wrap-up question here. Is there anything I haven't asked you that I should have, or something that you would like to answer?
Well, my days are pretty much dogs, working out early, and writing. Because, we're always, that's my one bit of advice to writers. If you're sitting at the table all the time, get up and move, break it up. And like you go to yoga, and I hit the gym in the morning. I think the healthier your body is, the more it fuels your creativity.
But then get back to the desk.
Get back to the desk. And really, I do have a very up at 4:30 in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
Home and back at my desk and ready to roll by 8 o'clock. And that's where I stay till the daily pages are done.
Hey, we could talk at 4:30, but I would not have gone to bed yet.
I know I have a friend who she'll text me something at about 4 o'clock in the morning as she's going to bed, and I'll text her back when I'm getting up, having my morning coffee at 4:30.
Oh, yeah. I don't see dawns unless I've seen the previous sunset. So. Okay, so my very favorite of this is the either ors, and you just hit just rapid fire. So let's say hot air balloon or train trip.
Oh, hot air balloon.
Pickup or sports car? Oh, but you said you were afraid of heights, didn't you?
I know, but I have 40 hours in a Cessna airplane, so I have 40 hours of flying time.
Wow.
So it's not scary when I'm flying.
Cool.
Go figure.
How did you get yourself to try it, though?
My dad was a Navy pilot, and I think he believed that I should give it a try. So it's like, okay. I was probably about 18 when I took those flying lessons and did my 4 solo trips. And it's been a while, but I enjoyed it a lot. So a hot air balloon. I would like to fly.
I love that you had a fear and you didn't let it stop you from doing those things. Fabulous.
I know, believe me. Yeah, there were some stressful days doing it, but those are, the more you push into those fears, I think the better it all gets.
Paper plates or best china?
Oh, paper plates.
Day or night?
Day.
Opera or show tunes?
Show tunes.
Pickup or sports car?
Pickup.
Spring or fall?
Fall.
Interesting. Hiking boots or cowboy boots?
Hiking boots.
Cat or dog?
Dog.
Cruise or trekking vacation?
I would say trekking.
Ice cream or cake?
Oh, cake.
House decorating or gardening? House
decorating.
Paint or wallpaper?
Paint. After you've scraped wallpaper.
Yes, yes. Girl after my own heart. Oh, yeah. I'm with you. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
And you have to choose one of these. Winter Olympics or Summer Olympics?
Summer.
Nail polish or bare nails?
Bare nails.
Grab the best first or save the best for last?
Save the best for last.
Well, That was wonderful. Thank you so much, Mary. This was a
Oh,
lot of
it's
fun.
so fun.
It feels like we got to catch up a little bit too, which I really enjoy. And hope the listeners will come back next week and hear another author. We will have lots more conversation. And in the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful week of reading. That's the show for this week. Hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for joining Authors Love Readers podcast. Remember, you can always find out more about our guest authors in the show notes, and you can find out more about me at www.patriciamclinn.com. You can also send in questions to be asked of future authors at podcast@authorslovereaders.com. Until next week, wishing you lots of happy reading. Bye.